Hey, Todd Burrier from toddburrier.com. Do you want to become better? You want to become better faster at developing your skills in prospecting. And prospecting is the number one, let's call it weapon. It's the number one weapon you have in growing a business of any kind, unless you're a fantastic marketer. That's a whole another thing. That takes a little bit more time to develop. It's a constantly changing thing and something we should all work on, but it takes time to become skilled at marketing. And it takes a little time to become skilled at prospecting as well, except prospecting is immediate. You can work on that right now while you're getting your marketing chops, so to speak. And so, what keeps people from actively prospecting? Obviously fear, of course, but where's that fear come from? It comes primarily from fear that they don't have the skills, right? It's whenever aren't skilled at something, then you're not confident. And if you're not confident, you don't want to do it, or you're afraid to do it, or you're afraid of all the things that will happen. And setting aside all the fear factors of rejection and failure and criticism and what other people think and all that other stuff, the primary thing is developing your skill. And so I'm going to give you 4 things that will help you to develop your skill, because the process of actively prospecting is not only does it lead to achievement, because really it's just a numbers game. And if you treat people with respect and kindness and honesty and you have something of value to offer, then it's really a numbers game. And so engaging in that numbers game doesn't require skill, but the more skill you develop, the more those numbers begin to shift a little more outside of just the average, right? That average of, 2 in 10 in the population are ready to take action on something that they have a need for. And in general, in sales, you'll hear the 1 in 10 number. It doesn't matter what the number is. It only matters that you work at it to get the number. And then as you're working at it, your skills will improve, which means you become more. And as you become more, right, you then begin to achieve more. You begin to become more. You become more confident, which allows you to engage in an entirely different way. And so I'm going to give you 4 things really quickly here that will help you if you be conscious of them. The first is probably obvious, but needs to be stated, right? And that is to take the action. It's to do the action, learn by doing. Right? You didn't learn to drive a car just by reading a book or taking a course, right? You didn't learn to ride a bike. You didn't learn to do anything you know how to do just by studying it. You had to do it. Right? And the beautiful thing about prospecting is you can mess up while you practice. So what? Right? If you're treating people well, right? If you're treating people kindly, it doesn't really matter if you mess up, right? They actually will be way more forgiving. And if you, especially if you're at the beginning of what you're doing, if you're real about it and say, you know what, I'm early in this, I'm new in this, so please forgive me. They'll be very cool about it, right? So you learn by doing. There's no way to get around it. So the way to become, one of the fastest ways to become good at prospecting is to do it. And it was really hard for me 30 plus years ago. It's actually, even though I became very skilled over the years, it never became natural for me because it's counterintuitive for me. It's a counter to my personality. And lots of people who, you may have had that same experience, because lots of people do. But the bottom line is, once you become skilled at it, you do it anyway, because you can't ignore that part of the business cycle if you don't do that part, unless you have great marketing or a lot of money to throw into advertising and you know how to do that, which is in the same category as marketing. Then you have to get skilled at prospecting. So the number one way to do that is do it. And if you do it, the more you do it, the faster you will become skilled. That's how I did it. I mean, I became skilled because I did it. Yeah, I studied people too, which is number 2, is the intellectual part. And that is the repetition of knowledge. Right? And so, for example, my early days in building businesses, and I'm still constantly pouring knowledge into my head, but I found some materials by people who were really good at the skill, good at prospecting, some people who were in the field doing it, as well as people who had built businesses in the past and were just business philosophers who were now training purely. And I studied and I listened over and over and over to what they did. And then I basically put into what I did what felt right for me, right? So I took some of what they did, because you got to be yourself. You can't be anybody else. You got to be you. in the process. And it doesn't matter what you're selling. You could be selling battleships or you could be marketing skincare. It doesn't matter. You've got to you got to be comfortable in your own skin and to do what you're doing. And so you want to be studying consistently. So there's two ways to make sure you're going to be successful. One is to prospect every day, and two is to train yourself every day. Invest in yourself every day. You do those two things over and over and over time, you'll build something, right? It may not happen fast. Matter of fact, the best things don't. Occasionally you get lucky. You can't base it on that, right? You got to do it based on things that are proven, all right? So the second thing is repetition. Things like, and if you don't have a good source for that, my Blueprint Process training, you go over to toddberry.com and get that. That's a digital training that will really help you. Or the process book, which is really simple, right? It's a little simple read, which it's sold tens of thousands of copies all over the world and helped lots of people. I've had many people come up to me at seminars and say, thank you for this book. It's how I built my whole business, right? So you want to find somebody's materials or use mine if you don't have any. But the bottom line is you have to repetitively put the information in to your brain, because that's, unless you've got a super brain, then you're probably like me. I don't remember much. And so consistently put it in. And then as you're taking action, you'll find all of a sudden you start saying the right things. And that's a combination of the studying and the doing. The third thing is, and this is really a unique one, but important, and that is the feeling part. Take some time. Take some time outside of your work hours and reflect on and be self-aware on how you feel about certain things. How you feel, where your anxiety comes from in the process, where it comes from, how it plays out. Recognize things like you maybe feel anxious before you make the phone call, but maybe in the middle of it you don't. Right? So you have to tear down the feelings a little bit because you're going to have them, right? So why not acknowledge that you're going to have them and then look at how you can manage them, right? So understand the feelings. It'll also be a little bit of an indicator of your strength zones, right? So again, my strength zone is being in the actual conversation. Getting into the conversation was hard for me. And so, but it took me a little while to understand that, right? Once I got away from my natural, okay, I'm afraid because, I'm an introvert kind of thing. And then the fourth thing is access others. And when I say access others is, depending on what kind of business you're in, you should have a boss or a mentor or an upline or someone who cares about your success. And if you don't, by all means, hire a coach. Right? I coach several people in many different industries, but everything involves selling. Nothing doesn't involve selling. Every business, I don't care if you're a one-person shop who fixes shoes, or if you're working in a network marketing opportunity, you have to sell something, right? And that doesn't mean you have to be the kind of pushy, pressureful person to do that. It's about, providing value to someone and making them aware of what you have. And so if you access others, often they can see things in you that you don't see. They can help you make tweaks and adjustments, right? And they also help you from an accountability perspective. You're more likely, right, to take the action, do the thinking, analyze your feelings, etc., if you have a coach. And so again, you may already have that built in, but if you don't, seek one. And if you don't have one that you know or you trust, reach out to me and we can talk about it. I might be the guy, I might not, I might direct you somewhere else. But it's important that you understand that these are the four things that you can do very proactively that will develop your skills faster. And by developing your skills, it will grow your confidence and it will help you to build your business. If you have a question, my email is below. Shoot it over to me. If you want to check out some of the services that I offer, make sure you go over to toddberry.com. The link is below. And I appreciate you being here, and feel free to share this video if it may help someone else. Take care.